In last lecture, we started to talk about the objects. In this lecture, I'll continue, and I will show you how you can return a value from function. So let's start. Let's open your calling editors, and let's find here functions we can use as an example. So let's say display car info. So I will actually indent it more to the left. It should be like this. Only two spaces here, and also with the car. Okay, I forgot on this. The two spaces, so shift and a tab, let's select this, and also let's select this and a shift and a tab, so just a two spaces indentation. Alright, so let's take a look on our display car info. What I would like to do here is just to return some value from here. So what we can do, we can just write here a special keyword return. Alright, and I can return here, let's say I can return here a string hello world. Now my function display car info is returning string hello world. So when I will call here display car info car, this returned hello world. Display car info with a car 2, this returned hello world. But this returned value is getting into a void because we are not using this value and we are not assigning this value anywhere. Okay, but if I would wrap this display car info in a console log like this, all right, now you would see that we will display hello world in our terminal. So when I will go to my terminal, I'll run here node app.js. You'll see Mercedes-Benz, okay? So first we are seeing Mercedes-Benz 95, okay? Because we call the function display car info. This will display console log of my Mercedes-Benz 95. Then it will return hello world. So this function will be replaced by basically hello world because it is a return from this function. And a console log will call this with a hello world string. Okay, I can write here a breakpoint on the console log, so maybe we'll understand it better. Let's debug this. Alright, so one more time, let's see what's happening here. Okay, let's jump into our console log. So first we are calling here display car info with a car, okay? So when I will get inside of here, you can see we are calling display car info. So we are consoling log out Mercedes-Benz 95. But then we are returning hello world from this function. Okay, so this will get the return, so we'll get back here into a console log. So now you can imagine here inside of this display car info, now we have here hello world because this function returned this value. So console log will be executed with the hello world string, and now we are jumping to display car info. This will display my second car, but yeah, but we are not consoling log out this. All right, so I will close this debugger, and now what we can do also is to assign return value to some variables. So let's say here I'll create here variable const. I will call this variable, let's say how we can call it, just a test variable, okay, to test. And I can assign here result of display car info. We are calling with the car2 informations. And now test should hold hello world string. So when I will console log here test. Now I should see here second hello world. Okay, so debug this. All right, so you can see now when calling display car info, we are returning here hello world, which is stored in our variable test. And now we are consoling lookout test hello world. And you can see here second hello world. As you can see, the same thing happening on the first console log, but we are not assigning this value, the return from a function, to any variable. We are straight away using this returned value in a console log. We are not storing it for maybe later use, as we are doing with the display car info car too. Okay, so this is a return of my function. I can specify here any type I want. I can return from here another function. I can return here number. I can return here true or false. All right, and so on. And this will be returned from a function when function is finished with execution. Okay, so then we'll execute everything here. Okay, and actually, when you will provide after this return some other lines of code, so let's say console log here or something else. All right, maybe you can want to create here a variable const a with some else value. You can see here already my coding editor is marking this with this faded color. This means whatever is defined after return is not executed. So as soon as your function execution will jump on a line with the return false, it will return this value, and a function is kicked out from a call stack, and it will not return to execute other lines after return. Okay, maybe we'll get error now. I'm not sure. Maybe we get some warning. Let's see what will happen. But it will execute here. I think nothing will happen. This line will be not just executed. Okay, we are just returning here false, false, because now we are returning false from our display car info. But you can see here there is no console log with this random string here. Okay, so there is a return. All right. Okay, so now we can remove this console log. Now you can see that we can return values from our functions. What I can do here, I can return here car itself. So I can return here car what I'm providing as a parameter of my display car info. Or maybe I can want to return here car brand. Of course, I can do it. Okay? So now when I will return here a car brand, in the console log I should see here a car brand. When I will execute this, you should see here now, I will console log here Mercedes, and here in the test I should have here Mitsubishi, because that's what I'm returning here from a second car, because in my second function call here I'm providing car2, and a car2 is holding Mitsubishi Lancer 2002, so when I'm returning here a car brand, this holding Mitsubishi. Alright? So to console log test, this should display me Mitsubishi. Alright, so I think that should be it for a function returns. We'll be talking, of course, about these things a lot after, or maybe we have still some time. We can play with these. Of course, you can read some other documentations. You can just write some bunch of functions, test it out, debug it, so you are pretty sure you understand it. But also, as I told you, you can return from here function. Okay, so I can return here function. And this function will be just a console log out I am function. Okay, so function display car info is returning function I am function. And this is called also anonymous function. When you don't provide a name for your function, this is an anonymous function. So just a function without any name. Alright, so we are returning here function I am function. So in a console log, when I will display car info with a car, this will just console log out function, because we are executing this function, right? We are just getting this function and we are console log out this. So when I will execute this, you will see now in a console log, I will just say console log this function here. You can see there's a function, all right. And when I will console log out test here, it will be just my function. This is my function. Okay. Of course, when you want to execute this function, oops. Right, let's see. I can simply remove this console log here. Now we know that our function is returning function. So when I will execute here test, which is a basically function because I'm returning function from a display car info, so this function is getting stored into a test variable, then I can execute this test, and this should execute this function here. Okay, I am function. And display car info, when I will provide here other set of brackets, this should also execute function I am a function. Because now I know that display car info, when I will execute this will return me function. So you can imagine this part was replaced by the function I am returning from here, and I am executing this function. All right. And this should display me console log I am function. And of course, we can debug this. I will write also breakpoint on line 25. All right, so let's debug this. Now you can see we are getting here again to display car info. Let's jump inside. All right, this will return me a function. All right, I'm getting in the end. And now I'm on the same line because now it was replaced by this function I have returned. So when I will step into again, I should step into this function console log I am function. So I will execute I am function here. And indeed, yes. In a test, I'm storing this function. You can see here this function is stored here, so I'm executing this again. I should jump here, and I'm executing here console log I am function, so this will again display I am function. Perfect, so this is working perfectly. Let's cancel this, and I would like to show you an example I wanted to show you in the last lecture. I would like to create here function on my object, and I will call it getThis. Alright, getThis will be simple function, and getThis function will return me this context. Okay, simply this. What I would like to do here is just to compare. So I will compare here, I will write here console log. We didn't talk about the comparison that much yet, but we'll talk about the comparisons in a later section, so you don't need to know much about it. But I want to compare my this context with my object itself. So I would like to compare here my car. I'll provide here equal signs. I'll provide here 3 equal signs, and there is a difference between 2 equal signs and 3 equal signs. We will talk about this later. I would like to compare here car with a car and get this. I would like to execute this, and I would like to see what will happen here. Okay, I'll write a breakpoint here. Let's execute this, and now let's see what this will return. And this is returning true. All right, so my car is the same as this context, so you can see they are basically the same object. So internally, when you are using this context, you are referencing to your car object. And so outside, when I'm comparing my car object with internal, this context of my car, these are basically same stuff. You can see it returned that true. So car is equal to this context of a car, because from I get this, I'm just returning this of my function, or of my object. Alright guys, that should be it. If you didn't understand completely the last part with this here, no worry about this. There will be much more examples, many hours more of explaining of such a stuff, of more programming, so you will get this concept completely. Alright, so just recapitulate, we have returned some values from our functions. We returned the functions itself. We know that we are getting these functions back, so we can execute them again. You have just 2 set of brackets here, or you just simply decide I want to store this result to a separate variable called test, or maybe test function I can call it, because I know that I'm returning a function from a function, and now I want to execute here test function. Okay guys, so that's it. I think you need some time to grasp all these concepts, so go ahead, play with this, create some functions, debug your code, and make sure you understand everything completely. And if you have any doubts, any questions, just ask me in the Udemy chat. That should be it for this lecture, and in the next lecture I would like to jump to a concept of classes. So there is also other way how you can create how you can create objects, and I think that's much better way, especially when you're creating more objects. So you don't need to always specify this syntax here. But guys, more about this in the next lecture. So that should be it, and I hope to see you in the next one. Cheers, guys.